watch like an actual Charlie Chaplin movie in Charlie Chaplin class.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we do is we watch them and then we have to come to class and like so we can discuss them, but that never happens because either people are too scared to talk or nobody's watched the movie. But this week we were supposed to watch The Great Dictator. I watched the first 15. Have you ever seen it?
Nope.
I watched the first 15 minutes of it, said this is the greatest thing that's ever been created, and stopped watching it to try and convince Jesse to let us watch it in class because I would like to actually have a good discussion about it, and it would be so nice. And he had just told us in another class, like, you have to watch movies or you have to, like, do justice to the medium at which you're intaking media. So, like, if you're watching a movie, you need to watch a movie on a big screen because it was intended for a big screen. You need to watch it with an audience, with a lot of people, because it was intended to be watched with other people. And you need to have no distractions. Well, are you changing my levels?
Yeah, because you're not super close to the microphone. I don't know why it's just picking you up quiet.
You want me to just talk like this now? Like right in front of me?
Sure, that works.
Okay. I can't move out here then. I'll stay out
I mean,
here.
you could probably do that, but...
How does it sound if I'm out here?
Same.
Really?
I mean, the same as it was before.
Like quiet?
Ish.
Well, then turn it up.
I did! What? Then you yelled at me for turning it up!
Well, I wanted to know what you were doing because you clearly weren't paying attention to my story.
I was paying attention to your story, but also checking levels, but unrelated, what were you talking about?
Uh-huh. Bitch. Trying to convince Jesse to let us watch The Great Dictator in class. But the thing is if we watch it in class, it's a 2-hour movie and it's a 2-hour class. So we'd literally only be able to actually watch the movie. We wouldn't be able to have a discussion about it afterwards. Anyways, I gave him like all of my arguments and he said he'd think about it.
That's Jesse talk for no.
But I feel like he's going to say yes because I really put myself out there. Like, I've never asked for anything. I feel like I don't... Like, okay, I go to Jesse and I ask him for, like, mental support because I'm dying all of the time. But, like, I've never asked him specifically, like, hey, can you do this for a class because I want to learn better.
That's true.
So I feel like he's going to be like, oh, like, one of my students actually cares about the class that I'm teaching. Like, maybe I should try to incorporate that.
But you care about every class.
I do care about every class. I'm going to get a B in my art of storytelling class, and it's making me so sad.
Why are you getting a B?
Because I haven't practiced my story. Jesse's going to... You have to keep this in, because Jesse, I have to present it tomorrow, and he's going to hear this a week from now. I did not practice that story at all. We're recording this on Wednesday, the 14th. I present tomorrow. I do not have a story ready. Just letting you know.
That's great. That's great. And I'm sure he's laughing out loud at that.
No, he's 100% going to know after I present it. And so when he hears this, he's going to be like, yeah, I knew you didn't practice that. Like, it's not a surprise to me. But no, I'm going to get a bad grade on that. And then I'll just get a B. So I'm not going to fail the class. But getting a B is like failing the class.
You know what we should do?
What?
Put our phones on silent. Anyway, this is Media for the Intellectually Impoverished. I'm Taylor.
I'm Randy.
This is the podcast that
enriches your mediocre lives.
All right. So,
this week,
we're talking about...
Westerns!
Pew, 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 pew.
Pew, pew, pew.
Those are guns. Randy's actually dead, canonically. I've shot her 8 times in the chest.
Randy's gone. R.I.P.
Yeah.
You're now speaking to Randaloni.
The mob boss.
The mob boss.
All right, Randy, why don't you start us off? Because I think I've started like the past 3 episodes or
No,
something.
you have not, but I was going to start anyways.
Okay, fine, you start.
I did decent research.
I did okay research.
Okay, well, I did better research.
You definitely did, but you always do better research.
That's a lie.
Is it?
Yeah,
Feels like
last week was not great. They know.
They know. They were here.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. Okay, so we're talking about Westerns, and it's obviously a genre. So I thought the first thing that we could discuss is, like, what makes a Western.
I have that, too. That was the first thing I thought of, was, like, how do you define it?
Well, yeah.
Do you want to, you should tell yours.
I'll go first.
Wait, what if I go first?
Okay, I thought you wanted me to go first.
But I don't know. I'm indecisive.
I feel like I'm the one who always does the definition, so it would be a nice change of pace if you did the definition.
Yay! Woohoo!
Go ahead.
I can be intellectual.
Really?
Oh my! Total tangent.
Oh no!
But today, Josh sent out a tweet today that was like, I wish there was such a thing as the media for the intellectually, like, competent.
Oh.
So I responded done, and then I changed the name of the Twitter to Media for the Intellectually
No.
Competent, and I changed the banner and the profile pic, and I just scratched out intellectual and wrote competent. And it's been that way for like 12 hours now.
God,
It's so funny.
That's perfect. Damn it, I wish we had more followers who could appreciate that.
That was so funny. I think we have like 12 followers, and most of them are just people that we know. Or
not to complain or not to say anything bad about the people we do have following us. Thank you so much. We love it.
Yeah.
We have more followers on Instagram. We're just making this tangent even longer. Like, people keep, like, I get a notification every time somebody follows us on Instagram, and the past, like, 5 people that have followed us are people that I do not know.
Okay, good. I don't know them either.
Okay, wow, we're reaching people.
Yeah, it's
That's
great.
Crazy.
I love it. Maybe it's our Arizona peoples.
It's our Arizona people.
Dude, Arizonians. Can that be the name of our people?
Arizonians?
Yeah. I like fellow intellectuals, though.
That's too much, though. We need like a cute, not cute, maybe cute, just like a little nickname, like a.
I
feel like Arizonians, or whatever you said.
Arizonas
is like, it's not inclusive.
But that's the bit, though.
I know that's the bit, but I feel like we have bits for everything. We need to be serious when it comes to our fans.
What about Smarties?
Smarties. I kind of like that.
Yeah? Okay, Smarties.
Okay, Smarties.
What's up, Smarties? That's the thing. That's it now.
That's it.
Yeah,
we decided right here now.
Right here, right here, right now.
Yep.
This just in.
If y'all don't like it, too bad. You're
too
Smarties.
bad. If you don't like it, then please tell us on social media.
Please, we'll change it.
Yeah, we'll change it. Like, we hate rejection.
But it's so true.
Yeah, we're getting new people because we're both connected to the Instagram on our phones, just because it's easier for me to find the posts when she puts them up, because I like to look at them. Because they're funny.
Some of them, I'm really proud of the one where I fired Greg.
Greg.
Oh God.
Who's Greg?
I don't know.
But he doesn't work here anymore.
He doesn't work here. That was the whole bit.
It's so funny.
I thought it was funny, and then the hashtags I put, sorry, Greg. It was so good when you told me that it was like, okay, I'm like, but that was my favorite one.
I might have been busy and just been like, great, and then moved on.
Yeah, it's okay. I worked hard on that one, but it's okay.
Okay, back to it.
Okay,
Westerns. What are Westerns? Great.
You're the definition.
I'm going to do a definition. So Westerns.
I'm going to check it off if you hit I got 3 main things on mine.
Okay, so
4 main things.
So Westerns, their common characteristics include cowboys.
You got 1.
Like bad guys, like outlaws, criminals, bandits.
Yeah.
A lawlessness of an area. So like a viewpoint of the lawlessness and there being some sort of lawlessness in the area.
Okay, I guess.
Sheriffs, Native Americans, settlers, the Oregon Trail, that kind of stuff. Some references to the Civil War, ranches, saloons, shootouts, duels, revenge is a big theme.
I forgot shootouts.
You forgot shootouts, and then railways.
That was a big point that I wanted to make in mine, but railways, yeah.
Yeah, and then like vast wilderness or landscapes and stuff.
Okay.
That's the things that I've got.
So the 4 main things that I broke it down into, because I feel like when you say Western, people have a pretty good idea of what a Western is. They can immediately picture it in their minds. But so what I wrote was that it takes place in the late 1800s or early 1900s. It's typically during or after the Civil War. There are underlying tones of war where it comes to the Civil War or battles and wars with the Native Americans or with Mexicans. And then there's an outcast, and then it takes place in the Western United States on the
west part.
Yeah, the west part. Where California is and all of them, and Texas, because Texas was kind of being colonized. Is it not colonized, but it's just being expanded too. The United States. It's the time when the United States was expanding further west.
Yeah, and it was well, kind of. It was. I guess you could say it starts in that era, because when you think about there's people in California. It's as people were moving further west.
Well, I mean,
we'd already expanded all the way to California before the Civil War.
Did we?
Yeah, because we had a civil war.
No, but the civil...
Yeah.
No, the civil...
Yeah?
No.
Yeah.
No.
You're going to look it up and you're going to be wrong.
No, we're going to have to put another point. We're going to have to put another point on Taylor's side. No.
Yeah, my points. I'm going to be drowning in points. Did you just look it up and lose?
It was founded in 1850, and the Civil War happened in 1860. So,
boom.
What was the last? Oh, like Hawaii or Alaska was like the last one to join.
Yeah,
what was the last continental state to join the United States?
Oh, it was like something weird. It was something you wouldn't expect. It was like Ohio or like North Dakota or something weird like that.
What was the last continental state to join? Alaska. No, continental.
Continental. Come on, Goog. Bet the smarties know.
Oh, 100% the smarties know, because they're the smart ones.
If they don't, they'll figure it out.
Delaware was the first one? Wow, I didn't know that.
This is the first one?
Yeah, that's what it says here on this little list.
What's the 48th one or something?
That's what I'm gonna look for. The 48th one. Yeah, the last two were Alaska and Hawaii. Arizona was the last one. Because you're going into Mexico. Remember, all of that was Mexico?
That's true.
And then we brought that down.
Yeah, it's where we got New Mexico.
Yeah.
Because it's...
New Mexico was, yeah. So the last couple ones are...
Wait, are you telling me that
crazy.
Arizona are Arizonians?
Our Arizonians were the last ones to join!
Well, think about that, guys. Look at that full circle, and we're only 20 minutes into recording.
Oh, we have to stop. Never mind. But the last ones,
Someone dropped something.
It's strange because it goes Wyoming, Utah, which are like very like northern states. Oklahoma.
It could have been that they were like, we had the land, and then they just sort of, you know, gerrymandered it to be a state.
So we did not have all of the states. So, okay, the timeline so I set the timeline of like the late 1800s and the early 1900s, right? Okay. So Alaska and Hawaii are out because they came in the 60s, in 1960s. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, that's when the civil rights movement was going on.
Right? That's crazy. Okay. But no, so the ones that we have, I don't want to read all of them before, but like, so right around the time, like, so, California, Minnesota, Oregon, Kansas. Those were the ones that I'm talking about. Like specifically, those were like the middle of the not 18th century, 19th century, when like the Westerns was. So we just got those states.
Sick. Kansas.
Texas was in 1845. We should know that.
Should we?
Being from Texas.
I mean, I feel like...
Did you not take like Texas history or government?
Yeah, I did take Texas history, but what you know what's weird to me is that like I think about it sometimes. I'm like, people that didn't live in Texas didn't take Texas history. What did they talk about?
See, okay, no, this is what I was just about to ask. We take Texas history. Does other states take the history of their states?
Because what's going on in Rhode Island?
Because I don't think so. Do you know, you told me, or somebody told me that we're the only ones that pledge allegiance to the Texas flag. Nobody else.
I believe that is true. And I think the reason for that being is Texas was an official country before it. It's the only state that I believe voluntarily joined the continental U.S.
Oh, okay. We could have been our own country. Who let that happen?
We were our own country.
Who?
Sam Houston.
Damn it, Houston.
Or Stephen F. Austin, or one of those guys.
Sam Houston. Damn it, we could have been our own country.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with that.
Very small country. Well, actually,
there are smaller countries than Texas.
I just thought about the fact
we
that Texas...
fit over like half of Europe.
Yeah, we could be a country. That wouldn't be a problem.
Easily. Okay, Westerns. Okay.
Great.
We have a consensus of like what a Western is. Okay.
Do we?
I think so. We both said cowboys. I said outcasts.
I kind of get that. I mean,
because that's what you also said. Because you also said like criminals and like gunslingers and like So I say outcasts.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I said war. There's underlying themes of war, expansion into the West, which I guess is wrong because we had already colonized.
Yeah, we
had already expanded to the West. Yeah. So I was wrong about that.
Point for Taylor.
And then it has cowboys and gunslingers and
pew 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 pew.
Indians, Native Americans, and Mexicans. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about mine. Me and Taylor actually were able to watch this movie together because I forced him to. I wanted to watch a movie with people, and then all of my friends backed out. So.
That was kind of mean of them. Not gonna lie.
Oh no, you're being sarcastic because I was a little hurt, but
Oh,
no, because like I don't know. I get it. People are busy, and I get it because you guys asked me like to hang out, and I'm busy too. Like our schedules are just kind of off. But like that was the first time that I had talked in the group chat for like months, and I was like, "Hey guys, I'm back. Does anybody want to watch a movie with me?" And everyone was like, "No."
I didn't even respond. I just responded to you personally because like I don't like talking in group chats very often. But like and you were like hey, why didn't you respond to the group chat?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I have all of my group chats muted.
But because I knew I could count on you. I was like, if nobody else shows up, I know Tayler will show up.
Yeah, I showed up. I showed up like 15 minutes after you started it.
It's okay.
I don't even remember what I was doing before that.
You were watching anime.
I was watching anime.
That's why and then you were like, I'm going to come after this episode. And then after the episode finished, you were like, but it ended on a cliffhanger, so I had to watch one more episode.
Okay, but to be fair, I still made it there only 15 minutes late.
That's very true because I didn't start it. So Chris was also in there, and I had I walked in and he asked me what I was doing or how I was doing, and I was like, oh, I'm doing good. Like, I'm going to try and watch a movie in here. And then I just kind of sat there for a couple of minutes, and he's like, I thought you were going to watch a movie. And I was like, yeah, I wanted to watch a movie with friends. I'm waiting for friends. And he's like, why don't you just watch it alone? I watch movies alone all the time. And I'm like, you're right. I mean, but that's good on Chris for having for having the courage to do that, because I am clearly a self-conscious person and could not go into a public place because it was in one of our rooms, a public place, and then decide to watch a movie by myself purely on the fact that some random person could walk in and see me sitting by myself watching a movie. And then
I walked in and saw you sitting by yourself watching a movie, and I was like, whoa, someone's...
And you thought that was cool? No, I think that's embarrassing.
No, I saw it and I thought, wow, someone looks stupid.
Oh my God.
Because I saw you and you were just lounged across the couch watching a movie, and I looked around, and at first I didn't see anyone there because I think Chris was in there.
Chris had walked out.
But maybe it's something like that. And I was just sitting there, and it was just you laying there watching a movie, and I was like, wow, you look sad.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Western, we gotta get back on track.
Movies.
God. Okay, so we watched News of the World, which it came out in 2020. It stars Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks.
We talked about it in class, and they kept saying Tom Hanks, and I, under my breath, every time I was like, Tom Hanks. It's just... And I was laughing to myself, and people were obviously staring at me, and I was just, Tom Hanks. It's just Tom Hanks. Okay, but
Thomathan Tanks.
Thomathan Tanks. Okay.
What was the last one I said? Thomathan Hanks a lot.
Okay, a little synopsis of it is Captain Jefferson Kidd, played by Tom Hanks, has spent the past 5 years traveling around Texas sharing both the sad and uplifting news of the world. One day he comes upon a 10-year-old girl who's lost her only home and decides to help her find a new one. Well, it's okay if you didn't listen to that because you actually watched the movie.
Yeah, I watched the movie. I was listening too, but
no,
you just gave I was expecting you to go further into the story, but
that's very much
the
surface level.
Yeah, surface
that's
level.
The very first 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, the part that I missed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the way that I have this laid out is so I have a little chart, what a typical Western has based on the things that I said. And then, how this movie did that, but also put their own little spin on it.
Yeah, because the main character isn't a cowboy.
No.
He's a newsreader, which I didn't really think about ever being a profession, but it made sense.
That's so cool. That's definitely what I would have done in the 1800s. A Western, the first thing, does it take place in the West? I think so. It's Texas.
Yeah, it's Texas. So.
Pretty much. And it's beautiful. The cinematography of it was so good, and the wide open spaces. I just want to be there. And this is something that I was thinking about with a Western, and this is something that we kind of brought up as we were watching it, about how you wished you could be a cowboy. What do you think that's about before I go into what I think that's about? Why do you think you want to be a cowboy?
Just it's
just for shits and giggles. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I think every boy at some age is like cowboys, yo.
Why do you cowboy? Why?
Every boy at some age is like boom, cowboys, and that's the only thing you think about for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that romanticized idea of being like a cowboy, like shooting, like walking into a saloon with the spurs going, ka-chick, 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 ka-chick. And then like sit down at the table and be like, slide me a tequila, and then they slide you a tequila. I don't think it's the
You
boy.
cannot order a drink. That is not what you do. I want a tequila.
Give me a tequila. But it's like a 10-year-old boy, so it's like, give me a tequila. And then he gets the tequila, and then he drinks it down, and then he's like, boom. And then you go and play poker, and then your friends are like, you're cheating. And you're like, no, I'm not. And then you punch him, and then you start a bar fight, and there's honky-tonk piano music still playing. And then you throw someone out of a window, and then you leave on your horse.
Mm-hmm.
And then you ride away on your horse to your friend Indian, who has been gathering herbs to create dinner with. But then you go hunting for like pheasant, and then you get the pheasant,
Mm-hmm.
and then you and your Indian friend cook the pheasant, and you eat the pheasant. And then you get a letter from a woman very far away who says she misses you and would like to marry you. And then you're like, I can't, I'm a cowboy. And then you ride off into the distance, and then you rob a train.
I'm a cowboy. Okay, but it's a romanticized idea.
Yeah, it's just that idea of like, wow, living in the West, you know, just being your typical hero cowboy.
See, but that's the thing though, is because you wouldn't actually. I don't think anyone would actually want to live in the West.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the technology that we had then and how primitive it is.
No, yeah, you have to like if nobody today knows how to kill and make their own food, like, well, maybe some people do, but
What?
like city kids like us don't.
Yeah.
We don't have, yeah, and like you had to make fires to stay warm, and
Mhm.
like you had to take care. How do you take care of a horse? Where do you get money?
Where do you get a horse?
Where do you get a horse?
Where does that come from?
The guy in the movie, he broke his carriage. How do you get a new carriage? Is it like buying a car? Does its value like go down 50% as soon as you ride it off the lines?
Does the same thing happen with horses? Is buying a horse like buying a car? Can you rent it for a little
A little bit, yeah. Like test it out, make sure it's a good horse.
bit? Can I trade in my horse to get 50% off of that horse?
This one's a little wonky. He leans to the The steering is a little. Oh my god, I'm crying. That was so dumb. I don't know why that made me so happy. But no, so nobody would want to actually live in the West. Maybe some people, but I could not live in the West. I like the romanticized idea about it, about having like being a cowboy or like a cowgirl or whatever and doing my own thing and not being pushed down by capitalism and society telling me what to do.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw. Okay, that was the other thing that I was thinking about. When did Westerns become a thing? And I thought, oh, after like the early, like after the late 1800s, when they could then make movies about that time.
Yeah,
I don't think they were classified as Western.
no,
Maybe
I
they
don't think
were.
so yet.
No.
Maybe they were, because you think about like life in the East, Northeast,
Mhm.
like it was vastly different than life in the
The
West.
West, yeah.
But you know, when was it's a good thing to figure out. It was maybe the smarties know when was the first sort of instance of a Western genre I would assume it'd be in books first before translating to movies, but film was becoming.
That was
in-
the
in
time. I mean,
existence.
film started in like the late 1800s. I'm talking about like 1895 or something.
Yeah, like right before the turn of the century.
Mm-hmm.
And then it sort of picked up around the 30s after the Depression.
Yeah. I mean, there was plenty of movies before the 30s.
Yeah,
But
like Hollywood became sort of a thing in the 30s and 40s.
bigger, yeah.
Yeah.
And more institutionalized
That's
and
what I-
things
yeah.
like that. Okay, I had expansion, but we kind of took out the expansion because the United States was already. But I want to talk about that because there was when Kid, I'm gonna call him Kid because I like that name better than Jefferson because that was his
Captain Kidd.
Captain Kidd. he stops at this town, and it's very like, I don't know what the word is for it. I want to call it capitalism, but it's not capitalism. It's like this weird like dictatorship, as like there's this one like head guy who has all of these other
The
like,
monopoly.
it's a monopoly, yeah, but I guess it's a monopoly. But he has all of these other like townspeople like working for him and doing exactly what he says, and he's like, what is it called when he's like the media, like he's not giving them all of the information, like he's very biased, I guess. I can't figure out the
He's
word.
censoring.
That's the word. He's censoring the media, and so like he's making his town like the greatest town, and no other town can compete with them because they're the best, and it's just trying to keep like the workers happy and working. And that's what I was thinking about, like expansion. That just shows like the like industrialism like starting to like come about, and even how like back then it was seen as like a bad thing, and like
Yeah, it was just. I mean, maybe not. I mean, it was definitely like a shift, and there's always media's always gonna be pushing against a shift. Um,
true, I guess.
and but yeah, there's definitely something to be said about like that specific instance, because in the story, he goes to this town, and you're talking about the town with the bison, yeah.
Yeah,
So not bison, buffalo,
Buffalo.
buffalo.
Is there different?
I
Yeah,
think there's a difference. Anyway, so if you didn't know, buffalo used to roam around America.
everywhere.
They're everywhere apparently. But in this town specifically, they were like killing buffalo en masse
Mm-hmm.
for like goods.
Yeah.
So like their pelts, their horns, their skulls.
Their meat. I did see that they were selling their meat, which made me feel better about it, because I thought that they were literally just taking the hides off of them and then leaving the rest of the buffalo. Like, anyways,
I'm sure they had to do that a little bit.
I'm sure they did, but that's
But
just it makes me feel better that they like that those animals, whatever you believe, eh, they used the entire animal.
Yeah,
They
rather
not it
than
wasn't going to waste.
yeah. Um, and then in this, it's like very chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
That so what happens is Captain Kidd, who's Tom Hanks, he goes to read the news, and the guy's like, you need to read this news, and he hands him the
Mm-hmm.
news that he wrote, or he had his people wrote. And Captain Kidd's like, okay, and so he's like, I have a story from my own newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
And then he starts telling a story of how these people that were sort of going through the same stuff that they were in like a coal town,
Yeah, in a
in a
mining town.
mining town, how they pushed back up against the sort of dictatorship of the
The
area.
oppressors, yeah.
Yeah, and then they like overthrew that and sort of made things better. And that guy was not happy about that.
Yeah, no.
And it was very tense and chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
Because granted, the story is not really about him telling stories in a sense. It's more about sort of the relationship between him and the kid that he finds.
Yeah.
And he's the telling the stories adds layers to it
Mm-hmm.
on top of that, because that's what sort of brings them together, is this idea of stories
Mm-hmm.
and telling stories, because they both really enjoy that. But in that scene, it's very tense because like he's split up from the little girl, and then things get very, very chaotic, and you're like, oh, what is he gonna do?
Yeah, and we can talk a minute about just how well shot that scene was, because we both said as soon as he like walked into town, because there's a moment before he gets into town where he's talking to like the head guy. As soon as you walk into town, you like, we the audience felt anxious, like something like wasn't right here, something not good is going on, and that has a lot to do with the atmosphere that they created within the film. And so the light was very orange, very like unnatural, kind of
Like almost on fire.
like everything was almost on fire. It was nighttime, and so that made everything more like it held emphasis on the orangeness. The shots suddenly became very tight, very up close and personal, and there was never like a clear frame of Tom Hanks anymore. There was always a bunch of people around him, in the foreground, in the background, and around the little girl as well, because as they get separated, I feel like that also caused tension, because up until now, we're like, he's been protecting her, he needs to stay by her to keep her safe, and then suddenly they're split up, and you think, oh no, something's gonna happen to her, because he's not watching her anymore. He has to like tell the news. And she's also surrounded by a bunch of people, and by this time in the story, we've already seen some men try and go after her to try and like buy her or steal her for their own like nefarious purposes.
Yeah, to sell her like like sex trafficking.
Yeah. And so in this town of like workers of other men, that kind of that fear comes back that someone can just grab her and take her away. And I think that all added into the tension and the anxiety that we felt.
Yeah, yeah. What else does it fits into the Western idea? It was at the last piece, the
Oh no,
expansion.
I have more.
Hit me.
The Lone Ranger. He's a Lone Ranger. He's an outcast, and I will defend this. He is an outcast. He's not. He used to live in San Antonio, and then I'm not going to spoil what happens, but he used to live in San Antonio. Um, and then he begins traveling around. He no longer has like a home, like a place that he can stay. He's not the outcast in societal standards. There's no like society, there's no really city except for the city that we just talked about where they won't let him in because he's a criminal or because he's like a bad guy or he's done all these bad things. He's an outlaw, but he is an outcast. He doesn't feel like he has a home, really. He can't go back to San Antonio. And so he's been hopping from place to place for 5 years. And he also has his own like sense of justice, which I think is another thing that outcasts in westerns typically have. They have like I don't know what it's called, but they have this like it's westerns are very based in like morality and like what does it mean to be civilized, what does it mean to be uncivilized, what does it mean to be good, what does it mean to be bad. Like you can do bad things for the right reasons and all of these things, and he does that as well. And we can see from the specific scene with the town, like he does have a very strong sense of what justice is, that people should be able to make their own decisions and shouldn't be oppressed by the bigger corporations, by these bigger dictators in the industry and things like that. And so he obviously has this, and he's trying to spread that. He's trying to make this justice, this like liberation within these types of cities.
Yeah, it's really I'm sorry, I had an existential crisis in the middle of that where I was like, I'm recording a podcast. um but no, like that tracks. It's very much like westerns because cowboys follow like a moral code.
Yeah.
You know, there are things that you do and don't do, like you don't hit women, you don't do these things. And like typically the protagonist of a western story has like a really good moral code. He might be like an outlaw, but he might have a really good code and be an outlaw, and like he'll beat up people that hurt women, and you know, it's
See, but he's still, that's the thing though, he's still beating up people. So he is doing bad things, but for the right reasons, right? And so, but he's purely doing like good things to help the people, to help society, but it's the bigger like corporations and things that are saying that he's bad.
Yeah. It's not just that, it's just it's the fact that he doesn't feel like he has anywhere to go.
Yeah, he doesn't have a home.
Because in the story he's very much just like going, like he just moves, and that's what he does, is he moves. And he's just like he's moving from place to place. He doesn't settle down anywhere, even at the end of the story, but it's painted in a different light at the end of the story because of the events of the story. But definitely from the first half of the movie, it's just very much just like you said, a lone ranger. Like he might be with someone, but he's still by himself.
Yeah.
In society, he's just doing his thing.
Exactly. And so that's just what so those are my main things. Like those are the typical things that like make a western, and that's what I really enjoyed about this film, how it kind of like skewed those things or really pushed the boundaries of a western. I mean, it looks like a western, and the time place really makes it a western, but it's playing with the types of characters and the archetypes that we've seen typically in a western. It played with that, and I think that's what's really interesting. And we hear all the time that, like, or at least I've been hearing recently in what feels like all of my classes, that there are no new stories. There's like everything that's been written has already been written, and you can only rewrite things at this point.
That's such bullshit. I
agree.
That is such bullshit. There are so many more stories to tell.
Okay, here's the thing though. There's like I've done research on this and I can't go through it all, but there are like 32 basic stories that all stories that you've ever heard can be put into one of those 32 categories.
But in the same vein, there's like 32 different I don't know,
But then
like
from those 32 different things, you can then find each little aspect of that type of story and then push that to its boundary to where you almost create a new story. What I'm saying is that, yes, I agree with you that, like, there are new stories to tell. There are different ways to tell stories. But you're always going to have that basic foundation, I think. What you can do is you can put your own spin on these kind of stories. You can make your own message. You can put yourself into it because ultimately that's what's unique. The stories aren't unique themselves. They all basically have the same premise. If you think about a story in general, all stories start off fine. There's an inciting incident and then there's a conflict and a resolution. That's all stories. There's only so much you can do with that pattern of story. And so what makes it unique and what makes it different is the way that you tell it because you are your own unique person. There's nobody out there in the world that is just like you.
yeah. And that's why I mean, and I get that there's different types of stories, but I don't think in any way, shape, or form has every story been told because think about it, there is what 8 billion people
Yeah.
on the earth. Every single one of those peoples,
Mm-hmm.
persons, has a unique story. That is 8 billion stories
Okay.
that are different from each
But
other.
in all of human history, we've been telling stories before we could write.
And
What do you mean?
it,
And
that I mean,
you don't think, I don't know when humans were, what the timeline is, how long we've been around, but you don't think in that amount of time that 8 billion stories could have been told? We've
but
clearly had more than 8 billion humans. If you take everybody that's ever been born in human history, it's way more than 8 billion. And you're telling me that in all that time, that not every single story has been come up with?
I don't think so because
Okay.
like as time evolves, so will stories.
Okay.
New stories will come about. I'm talking about Red Dead Redemption 2,
Nice.
the best cowboy game in the West.
The little bit that I did watch was incredible, and I usually don't like those types of games, and I really want to play it now.
It is so good. It is so technically adept.
Mm-hmm.
It's so very, very fleshed out.
Mm-hmm.
And I will talk about that.
Okay.
But to
Well,
start off with,
get
Red
on
Dead
to it.
Redemption 2 is the story of a cowboy named Arthur who is in a group of outlaws at sort of the end of like the era of cowboys. So like late 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
And their band of outlaws is realizing like, it's time for us to move on from being outlaws. We need to just one final heist and then it'll be over and then we'll settle down. Well, one thing leads to another and they keep doing more heists and eventually, the plot must thicken as Arthur seems to doubt whether or not this is the end of his cowboying life.
Mm-hmm.
So in that, it's a very intricate story. It fits the Western. It's got cowboys, it's got outlaws, it's got train heists, it's got all sorts of things. It's got fighting the elements. It's got anything. This is the quintessential Western story.
Yeah, but what I think really makes it interesting and different is that it's talking about the end of like the cowboy age, which maybe I haven't watched enough westerns, but that's a very new concept to me.
That's true. It's because so like it's during the Reconstruction after the Civil War has sort of started and finished
Mm-hmm.
basically. We're at the end of the Reconstruction era before the turn of the century.
Mm-hmm.
And so like cowboys are still around, but it's like they're given a very different view, right? So because there's sheriffs now, there's institutionalized police,
Oh.
and so it's different because you can't like there's not just cowboys everywhere that are fighting other cowboys. It's cowboys and the police,
Mm-hmm.
and so like it has a different vibe to it than just being your typical cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're pushed to like the edge of society, and they're stuck sort of doing their thing and trying to plan out one last heist. And that's sort of the downfall is that like they need one more heist and all that stuff. And yeah, so it's got a lot of like themes of revenge, right? So the main group of outlaws that you play in are trying to get revenge on this other group of cowboys that push them out of town, and then like your main character tries to not your main character, the leader of the group tries to get revenge on this one guy, and he does it in a really brutal way, and that like sort of changes the tides of how Arthur, the character you play, thinks about things. There's it's ripe with revenge. There's a whole bunch of subplots and small stories along the way. But the big things that I want to talk about is so outlaws, right? So you play as an outlaw. You can be a good cowboy outlaw. You can be a bad cowboy outlaw. So because there's like this honor scale, right? So the more heroic cowboy stuff you do, the higher your cowboy scale goes. Cowboy scale.
Hey, your good points.
Good points.
Your good boy points.
Yeah, your good cowboy points. And you do things that are illegal, or you kill people unprompted. You kill people for the wrong reasons. You get bad cowboy points.
Bad boy points.
Yeah. So depending on whether or not you are a good cowboy or a bad cowboy, will change the ending of the game. Which I've always loved, like, choices matter kind of stuff. And it's very intricate because there are some choices matter games where it's just like, tell me what you want to do. And then it gives you two options and it's like, good option, bad option. This one does a lot of like niche kind of stuff in game rather than let's break out of the game and make a decision. And then you make a decision and then things happen from there. It's like every single thing that you do has a consequence to it.
Well, it's true to life. I mean, and I think that's something that video games are getting better at. Maybe they've always been like that, is when telling those types of stories that it's, I don't know, I feel like there's video games where like you do something bad, or like the first person shooter games where you're like killing people and there's like no consequences for killing all of those people. It's to win the game. But when you have stories like this, it's like, oh, if you kill somebody, like you can literally see like your morality meter like get worse. And I don't know.
Yeah,
it's true to life. There's consequences for everything that you do.
Everything that you do, whether it be a good consequence or a bad consequence, there are consequences. Yep. Then the next thing I wrote down as my big topic was cowboy and adventures.
I think I wrote something funny down too in my notes. Hang on, I want to.
Yeah, I want to be funny too.
I want to be funny.
Okay, I'll go on while you're looking for that. So, the big cowboy adventure, like anything you think you wanted to do as a cowboy, you can do. You can hunt huge game like big old bears and crocodiles. You can have saloon fights and bar fights and all that good stuff. You have standoffs. There's train robberies. Oh my gosh, they're so fun. Because like you have to ride your horse up at the speed of the train and then jump from the horse to the train, and then you have to shoot the conductor, pull the brakes, and then you can go and rob it. And so the horses are nice. I like the horse physics. But here's the thing. I was playing and I was playing and I was having a good time, and I was like, okay, cool, I need to leave this town because I did a bad thing. Because I had done a good thing because there was this guy that was like mentally unstable that had kidnapped some guy and made him dress up as his kid's son, who I guess had died or something.
Oh my god.
And so I had saved the guy that was kidnapped, and then I shot the dude that had kidnapped him. But then he owned like a gun store, and I was like, well, he's dead. Might as well take some of his ammo. And then I did, but then someone saw me through the window taking ammo, and like, I'm gonna go tell the police. And they did. And I was like, crap. And so I sort of ran, and then I ran over these train tracks, and I was like, I gotta call my horse. And so I start whistling for my horse. Whistling physics are great, by the way. Every time that you click the whistle button, if you click it short, it just is a quick whistle. If you click it for a long time, it is a long whistle. I love it. It's so great. But my horse got hit by a train, and then
How is that? How is that possible? Okay, I have to read you this
my horse got hit by a train. I was like, I ran over it, and I was like, oh man, I need to get out of here. And then I heard ka-chunk, 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 and I was like, oh no, because I'd already whistled, and I was like, oh god. And so I kept whistling frantically. I was like, come on, come on, come on. And then I saw my horse galloping, and I saw the train, and it was just like he like ran over the train tracks, and then he stopped, and I was like, no! And he gets hit, and he just flies over, and I'm like, no, Bolt, my horse.
He stopped the train.
He was so close too. It would have been an epic moment when he was like, oh, he made it past the train. Nope. Bam. Goodbye, horse. So I had to pick his saddle off of him, run up to some random guy's horse, and just put my saddle on his
No, you
horse,
can
and then
steal a
ran away.
horse?
Yeah, you can steal anything.
No!
And then eventually I found out that I had Horse Reviver, which apparently brings your horse back from the brink of death. And I was like, oh no, I can go get my horse back. So I run back to go find my dead horse's carcass, and it's gone. And I'm like, okay, fine. I guess I don't get to have my cool horse anymore. What a sad story.
I guess I don't get Bolt back.
Oh man.
I know. Thank you for that. That was great. I have to read you this comment though, because I was watching a video on the video game, and I was going through the comments to see if like there was any like good tips and stuff. But somebody commented, I'll try and get through it as best as I can. It says, I can't tell you how many times my horse has ran full speed into a wagon or another rider at once, trying to avoid a wagon. It walked right off of a waterfall once. Rip cabbage, you beautiful brain dead glue factory. God.
The horses are so stupid.
Okay, I'm sorry. I needed that. We got funny horse stories.
Funny horse stories. The quintessential funny horse story. So yeah, other than the horses, like the game is super intricate. Like there's anything that you wanted to do as a cowboy, you could do. Anyway, so the game's super intricate, and there's a whole bunch of like gun management. You have to keep your guns clean to keep them working well. There's horse bonding, right? And so the longer you ride a horse, the more skills it learns, the more it trusts you, and the further away you can call it and it'll come to you. Right now my horse hates me because I stole it after my horse died. And then the hats. Oh my god, the hat physics.
The hats?
The hat physics. When you think of a cowboy, what do you think of? Cowboy hat?
I guess.
Cowboy hat.
A lasso and a gun.
Lasso and you have those two
spurs.
things. You have those three things and a cowboy hat, right? You can pick from a myriad of cowboy hats, of just a wide array of cowboy hats. You can kill people just for their hats. When someone shoots you and gets close to your head, your hat flies off. And then you have to go and pick up your hat to put it back on. I spent 20 minutes looking for my hat because I had gotten in a shootout and there were like 30 hats. And I was like, which one is my hat? And so I was trying on hats left and right. And I couldn't find it. And then it was just like, well, time to go buy a new hat, I guess.
You had 30 free hats.
Yeah, but I didn't want any of those hats. I wanted the one specific hat that I had purchased. So I had to go find another hat, purchase or something. I don't remember what I did. But it was just me in like a bloody field. The police are on their way. And I'm just trying on hats like there's no time in the world. The true cowboy dream.
I can't imagine you in a video game. Oh my god, just standing there for like 30 minutes just trying on. Like
that is what you want in a cowboy game.
There's like a shootout happening behind you or something. Or there's a bar fight, and you're just walking around the square
trying on people's hats, stealing their hats. What's but
you're so happy about it. Like you put on a hat, you're like, it's not this one, and you put it back down.
There's that bit in Pirates of the Caribbean when Jack Sparrow is trying on everyone's hats during the bar scene. That was the vibe.
That was the vibe. We got trying on hats and we got dead horses.
No, and hats on dead horses.
I found the title.
I can't wait for this one to come out and that title to go up.
Oh my god.
Oh man. Oh yeah, but it's just it fits that cowboy theme. It's the closest. Like Red Dead Redemption 1 was good, but it's old. It's dated. Red Dead Redemption 2 kicks ass in the cowboy department. It is, if you want to play a good cowboy game, that is the only game that I can recommend. It's just it has all of the elements for a cowboy game. The characters are all interesting. The gameplay is interesting. It's intricate. There's everyone's got their own play style. There's so many different things you can do. You can devote your time to, and it's just fun. It is just fun. And don't call your horse over the train tracks.
The game did that on purpose.
No.
It did. It saw that and it was like, this is the perfect.
This is too funny.
This is
too funny. And the game was like lagging when I was playing it because it's such a big game that it was just like it couldn't load everything in, and so my horse is just like stopping and starting, and then it stopped, and I was like, "Oh great, it's no, Bolt!"
Oh my god!
Oh
It
my
did it on
God.
purpose. It was like, oh, it's lagging. Oh, he wants his horse. He doesn't get his horse.
And then like
That's
after that,
freaking
like
perfect.
I lassoed because I was trying to get away, but I thought maybe he'd wake back up, so I had lassoed him, and I dragged him probably
stop,
200
stop.
feet while the police were searching for me, and I'm just dragging a horse across this road, and then some guy sees me dragging my horse, and I just nod to him like I tip my hat, and I just keep dragging my horse along. Then I put a hat on him, and then he was looking great for a picture, and so I had to take a picture of him. Yeah, play Red Dead Redemption 2. Put hats on
Not
horses.
for the cowboy, not for like the real cowboy experience, for the dead horse.
For the dead horse dragging. That 10 out of 10 dead horse dragging simulator is something I would play.
Oh my god!
Okay, let's move
How
on.
much is this game? I'm gonna buy this game.
It's like $60 right
It's
now.
$30.
$30
Walmart.
at Walmart.
$30. I don't have $30. I just spent
This episode is
$120.
sponsored by Dead Horses.
You snuck it in.
You can drag them. Don't beat them.
You can put little hats on them.
For all your dead horsing needs.
Red Dead Redemption.
Okay, recommendations. Okay, I have
I'm
one.
gonna get that game just to laugh. Okay, but you got it.
Okay. So, my recommendation is it's not your typical cowboy, but I recommend Cowboy Bebop, which is an anime released in the 90s, 1990s, not the 1890s. I know we've been on the 19th century kind of track, but they didn't have anime back in the 19th century, I don't think.
Are you sure?
I'm
Are you fucking kidding me? No, they didn't have anime back then.
I'm attacked.
They didn't have movies. How the heck were they gonna have animated TV shows?
Listen. You said it with such conviction that I had to question it.
Oh my god.
Okay, but yeah, it is defined by most people as a space cowboy drama. The story is there's this bounty hunter named Spike who's trying to make ends meet by getting bounties and such, and it's sort of the escapades of him and his group of bounty hunters as it grows, and the things that they do and the hijinks that they get into. It becomes sad later on, which I won't talk about, won't spoil, but it is good. It's very well animated. It is it's got that Western vibe. It's got the shootouts. It's got the the Lone Ranger. It's got outlaws. It's got lawlessness. It's got wide open spaces. And it's just the soundtrack is incredible. Yeah, 10 out of 10 would recommend Cowboy Bebop as my Western. Randy's random thought of the day. Wow, that's interesting.
Why is Houston like a square? Like, if you look at the major cities, like if you look at New York, if you look at Chicago, if you look at Los Angeles, they just got highways, freeways moving right through them. Why do we have a big circle and then like lines that go like
And then another big circle.
and then another big circle, and then we're currently building another
Big circle.
big circle. But I feel like that's so smart, though. Like, why don't other cities do that? I feel like it's so easy to get where you're going.
Well, here's the thing. Would you rather go in a circle around a town or a line straight through it?
But we do have lines that go straight through it.
I don't know. I don't know why other cities don't do it. Maybe take a note from Houston, stupid cities.
But like San Antonio, like even I wanted to say it was like a Texas thing, but San Antonio does it as well. Though San Antonio only has one ring, and I think they're currently building a second ring. But Dallas doesn't have it.
It does make a lot of sense, though. I mean, one of them is a tollway. So we've got the 610 loop, which is the inner loop of the city, right outside of downtown.
Mhm.
And you use that to get around downtown if you don't want to, take the roads in downtown. And then outside of that loop is the Beltway 8 or the Sam Houston Tollway. Both, they're the same thing. And it goes all the way around the outskirts of Houston because, there's Houston proper, and then outside of Houston, it sort of conglomerized a bunch of smaller towns that now are considered part of Houston. And so that sort of gets you around to those places. And then now they're building another one, which is going to get you around Houston entirely.
Yeah, like, it's crazy. The other thing that I was thinking about is, like, you have the people in downtown, and we think of them as, like, rich people, right?
Yeah.
Like, because they can afford to live downtown.
Yeah.
And then you have people living on the outskirts of Houston in big mansion homes, and you're like, those are rich people. But then there's, like, between downtown, between the center and the very outskirts, you got rich people. And then in the middle, you got not so rich people.
Yeah.
But, like, why?
They're trying to box us off in case we revolt.
Oh, shit.
That's smart.
That's smart. But, like, because I had to drive a really long distance today, and I got all the way out there. Like, you could see where it happened. You could see the break of, like, this is the suburbs. These are, like, the lesser, like, I don't know how to say it, like, nicely, but, there's lesser developed areas, or not so, like,
it's not the rich people areas.
It's not the rich people areas, but you could see the line. Like, I crossed the street that went from the not so nice areas to the really nice areas.
Yeah.
And, like, but why, how? Why?
Gerrymandering.
But why are they out there? Why aren't they closer?
Because if they're out there, then they're, like, further away from downtown. They don't have to deal with the downtownisms of downtown. And then maybe they have more land out there that they can have.
I guess.
Like, who cares? Just live.
I want to live out there. I know, but I can't because with the career that I want to go into, I got to be close to downtown. I'm not making an hour drive every day.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anyways, my recommendation.
No! Randy's random thought of the day. Wow. That was interesting.
I've already talked about this movie before, but I'm going to talk about it again because I really liked it. I'm slowly realizing that I haven't seen as many Westerns as I thought I had seen. And the ones that I have watched were because of my boyfriend. So,
good old boyfriend's making you watch Cowboys.
He really rounds me out because I watch a lot of romance and horror movies, and then he makes me watch the action movies. And so, like, I'm slowly getting a better, like, idea of, like, films as a whole. We started watching Marvel. Like, we're starting with the first one, Iron Man. Never seen it. I'm so excited to go through the whole.
So are you starting with, like, are you doing it in chronological order or the order it was released?
See, that's what the thing is. I think we're doing it in the order that they were released.
Because if you're doing Iron Man before Captain America, then yes.
Yeah, because I had asked him that before we started, because he's a very big Marvel fan, and so I was like, the one thing that I know is that there's two ways of watching. You can watch in chronological order, or you can watch in the way it was released. And I think he said the way it was released was better, or at least more authentic, because that's how they, like, intended it to be. Yeah. Because that's how the studio, like, released them. If they had wanted you to watch them in chronological order, they would have created them in chronological order. Yeah,
and with that, you seeing the released, you don't have that problem of, like, realizing there's a loose end in the middle of it. Like, those loose ends fade away as they did with regular people when you watched it. So.
Yeah. Anyways, so what I'm going to recommend is Django Unchained. And we talked about this before in one of our movies. I think about, like, color or sound. One of them.
It was...
No, it was shots. It was. I remember talking about the specific
cinematography.
Cinematography. I think I talked about it in cinematography. Yeah. Okay, but this is a western. It takes place 2 years after the Civil War, and you follow Django. Who
is he Unchained?
But he's
the same joke the last
I know
time
you did.
talked about it.
I know you did. But he's a former slave who has been taken in by this bounty hunter, I believe it is. And then they go and like continue like hunting and bounty hunting together. And so they're like outcasts. He's especially an outcast because he's a black man, right like 2 years after the Civil War. So clearly there's still unrest and people have very differing views about it. I think it's a really great movie. It's really long, but don't let that discourage you. It's really great. The cinematography, obviously we've already talked about, is beautiful. I think the story of it is incredible, and I think I spoiled the ending already in the cinematography, but I won't spoil it again. It's heart-wrenching, but you should watch it.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining us on this intellectual journey, my smarties.
My Smarties.
Smarties. Can you imagine if we were sponsored by Smarties? And every time we said that,
oh my
they
god,
were like, we got money.
We got like $200.
Yeah. Or maybe we can't say that and we're going to have to pay them royalty fees.
Oh, maybe not.
Oh, well, that's just not telling anyone.
Yeah.
Anyway, catch you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Media for the Intellectually Impoverished is produced by Trey Taylor Smith and Miranda Randy Zapes.
Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at MFTII Podcast, or email us at mftiipodcast@gmail.com.
That's MFT, 2 Eyes, podcast. Thanks for listening.